Take one. Yes. Okay, I'll call the meeting in order. Item B is a verification of board notice and approval of the agenda.
There are no changes to the agenda. I'll approve as printed.
I'll second it.
Motion by Barry and a second by Jeanette. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item C, a moment of silence to reflect on the business at hand. Item D, the Watoma Area School District Strategic Plan.
Mission statement, create a positive foundation for the success of our children.
Strategic directions, business and community involvement through internships, job shadowing, and mentorship.
Develop marketing of the district and community through branding.
Improve work and people skills. Develop parental contact, promoting school involvement.
Build productive relationships with the medical field to increase the support and open lines of communication to support students with mental health issues.
Item E, recognition of persons wishing to address the board. We have none. Item F, administrative reports. Anything to add, Tom?
I do, a few things. Last time when we had the public hearing, we waived our instructional hours, and we had been told a variety of things regarding that. So the state statute reads that when you do those waivers, it's a 4-year waiver. We were told last week that's untrue. It was just a waiver for last year. So that I had told you guys that, so I just wanted you to be aware that was not accurate. So if they decide they're going to waive hours again for next year, if they're concerned about that, we'll have to do another waiver again for that. So just wanted you to know that if I had to come back. Planning for reopening, our hope is, and everything that we want is, in my eyes, and I think the administrator's eyes, we'd love to bring all the kids back. I think we're planning that way. Right now, probably not getting the answers that we want to come back that way, but I think that's, what we're still holding out hope for, because we feel like that's what's best for the students. Obviously, there has to be a lot of safety measures in place to make that happen. A couple dates coming up that it will give us some more data on that. I did do online registration starting today. Open that up, put it on Facebook, did the messenger out on the campus. Had over 100 families already registered. There are some questions that go along with registration that are going to help us determine how we're planning for reopening. Again, connectivity, are people willing to drive their kids to school? Again, just talking about flexibility with schedules, things of that sort. So we'll have some of that data. June 15th, myself, the admin team, the Department of Health Services for Washington County, Wild Rose, Tri-County, and Allman Bancroft will be in here. And we'll get a few more tables if we're going to. The health department wasn't here, wouldn't be a big deal, but since they're here, we're going to be here. So we're going to have a meeting just to really make sure we're all on the same page about reopening and having the same discussion. Because as we all know, if we were to do something that was less restrictive and Wild Rose was going to do something more restrictive, it could really have an impact on Wild Rose and vice versa. If we say we're going to come out with an A/B schedule and Wild Rose says we're letting the kids all come back, it could have an impact on our enrollment. Because families could be like, well, I'm going to Wild Rose because they're going every day. So we want to make sure we're on the same page. We don't have to be necessarily doing all the same thing, but we want it to be similar so that we're communicating the same way. Transportation is a huge thing for us right now. We need a little bit of commitment on transportation. I know what I want if we have to physically distance, but I want to get a little bit of a reinforcement from the county health department. Right now, besides hoping that kids can come back full time with, again, some mitigation strategies in place, we're working on a Monday, Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday schedule. And that would mean that the kids are only being educated 2 days a week. One group would be here on Monday. They would be expected to work on Tuesday from home. They'd be back on Wednesday, and then you'd have the Tuesday, Thursday group. The reason we don't have Friday, and we would expect students to work on Friday, they'd be given assignments to do on Friday, is because we're still uncertain about how many kids may not come back to school. And so those 4 days that the teachers are here, they would have half the amount of students they normally have, but they still have students. Like, it doesn't matter whether you have 10 or 18 or whatever you have, you still got kids in front of you. So they're not gonna have a lot of time to be regrouping and trying to get caught up on what they need to get prepared. And if then we have a whole other population of kids who are not in school, who we're allowing to enroll, that we're trying to provide them an education so we don't lose them in enrollment, we got to juggle that too. So for now, but again, in order to make that happen, we're going to have a waiver of hours because again, the kids aren't going to be here full time, even though we're saying we're providing things for them off-site, there'll probably, again, hopefully be a waiver. That seems to be the most common model that we're seeing throughout the state right now. The only change I could see to that is if we don't need Friday, we would do an alternating where it'd be Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 1 week for one group, and then Tuesday, Thursday, Friday for the other group the next week. So you would go 5 times in 10 days. Again, what predicates all of this, and this is the point that we can't get anybody to budge on right now, is social distancing or physical distancing. With physical distancing being the CDC buzzword or the go-to, we can't get anybody to back us about reopening as long as physical distancing is still in the vocabulary, and that's 6 feet apart. So we've talked about this before. Physically distancing on a bus, realistically, is 11 kids on a bus. That is not going to work. So physically distancing to me on the bus is 1 kid per seat, except for siblings can sit with each other because they're from the same household. Okay, well, that's 22 kids. And then if we get extra siblings to sit, together, we may be able to get more kids on the bus. All right. That's my proposal. I'm going to take to the county health department. Because we do that, we can do the AV schedule. All right, we can make that happen. If they say you can only have 11 kids on a bus, then we're probably looking at kids being here 1 day a week. So you have 4 different groups of kids, and they would go. One would go Monday, one would go Tuesday, one would go Wednesday, one would go Thursday. They'd be given work for the other 4 days they're in school. That is not ideal. That's not. You might as well, in my opinion, you might as well not be a school day if you're going to have to go that route. So again, we're looking at an AV or whatever you want to call it, an alternating schedule. Again, as I talked with Ross and we talked to other people, it's still June 8th. I mean, I'm still holding out hope that our state numbers are looking better. There were no deaths today in Wisconsin due to COVID-19. At some point in time, are we going to be able to relax the social distancing requirements so that we can have kids come? That's sort of what I shared a bunch of documents with you guys, sort of showing you the work that we're doing. There's a couple more that I just finished up. But I mean, I got all these checklists in place to make sure we're prepared for everything that's going to be thrown at us. So I guess that's it. I wish I had more answers for you. I just don't have. We're all, again, good or bad, we're all in the same position.
So maybe basically we're planning for several different scenarios with the clear goal in mind of being back business as usual.
Whenever we get the go to come back, we would go. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
And again, people could still choose not to send their children.
Right.
And we would still work under that premise. Not going to hold that against people.
Just how the parents educate their kids if they go to work.
Exactly.
Little ones.
I agree.
Well, it's a fraction of what they would do.
So again, it goes back to so the way the routes are set up, Jeanette, and so we have Dave Riley in here, and he's already got it set up for us. So we just have to wait and see what our enrollment is for the routes. But the bus drivers would drive their same routes they do now, but they only pick up half the kids on Monday. They pick up the other half kids on Tuesday. We would always keep families together so that hopefully 2 things. One is, again, if hopefully there's an older sibling that could watch the kids on the off days. And then if not an older sibling, is there somebody else in your community, in your area that could watch kids on their off day? I mean, that's our only hope. But yeah, we're all in that. There's
a lot of parents, because I've had younger parents talk, and they're like, we might as well just teach them at home then.
Yeah.
Because to try to find some halfway in between
Yeah.
a person, most of the parents,
I
a
hope
lot of them
I
think
hope they
that
show
way.
enough confidence that they trust the district enough and understand that we're gonna do the right things for the kids and let the kids come back, because I really feel that they're hampering the education of their children by keeping them in that environment. Virtual education, to me, is not a real education. That's my.
They need the social distance.
And-
They need that.
and at least worst case scenario, they'd be here 2 days a week. So at least they get that, compared to
Maybe
what.
a full day.
Yeah, they'd be full day. We're not gonna do half days. That is
Okay,
too much
because that's-
transportation.
Yeah, because that's what some people,
No.
they heard.
I know
We
there's-
kicked them around. We
Yeah.
kicked a variety of models around, but no, the full day is the best model, plus transportation.
I know there's several questions, many hypotheticals that you're probably coming up with, but when you talk about, maybe you don't have this answer, Group A and Group B, are we trying to keep classes together? I mean, classes, the freshmen together and the juniors together? Not at all, or?
Well, what we would do is we would look at routes first and see how we can get those kids in half on one day, half on another, plot them into the schedule then we would find out who's gonna drive their kids in. And then try to even things out by plopping those kids in. And then at the high school level, we'd look to see who can drive and fit that in. So we'll go from like what we can control with bus and then take it from, hopefully, I would guess, people are driving in, it's a more flexible situation on what they do.
I guess in my mind, I'm thinking more of the high school and I know you're trying to cover every base, but I just know the social aspect. If
Your own class.
I think I think it's important, right?
There'll be some here, obviously, I mean, but again, if you're looking at trying to maximize using some of them to help watch their younger siblings, you know what I mean, like on other days, I mean, we're gonna have to find a way to sort of even it out.
I know.
Yeah, because if you bring all the freshmen in, that throws the schedule also way off, because you really want to have where you have half the freshmen one day, half the freshmen the next day, as far as scheduling. So,
What about low class sizes, like in elementary, what's the class already has 15 kids, is there a point of making it come only half day to have 7 or 8 kids?
I think we would use those people in a different realm than on the other day.
What about, I mean, obvious, high school's gonna be a harder mold, but, like AP courses where you may have far fewer students. I mean, you probably don't want 2 in a section and 7 in a section the next.
Well, what we'd probably do with that is, again, and usually the AP kids could drive themselves, is would be
Okay,
allowed,
fair.
if you have a small group, they would come every day. But on their off day, they would only come in for AP,
That's it.
or a dual credit course, or something that's small. Yeah, that's what we've discussed.
Sure.
Again, without having enrollment, that's why we started enrollment today, because without having enrollment and finding out who has to be on the bus, who doesn't have to be on the bus, who can drive themselves, we need all those pieces. I mean, that's what we're gonna be doing from this point to.
What time do you feel like to open the school up? So to help parents, if you want them to drive, do you think about a different time opening the school up? If they need to, drop off kids earlier so they can get to work?
Yes, so, yeah, very good. So if they had a younger kid and they had to drop them off at 7 a.m., definitely we could flex the time of some of the support staff to be here. Yeah, Parkside already does that now. Parkside, the high school is open at like 6:30. But again, the issue with that too is, and again, this is so many things, but okay, once they get here, this isn't like the old days anymore. They can't all hover together.
Yeah.
So we're gonna have to have like, you can be here, and you can be here, and you can be here. I mean, that's what we're gonna be dealing with. And so that's why there's a lot more to come. Then we're gonna even talked about the facial coverings, if that's probably not gonna be mandatory. And because you can't, how you gonna fight that? How you gonna make sure it's clean? How you gonna make sure it's on fit tight? They wear second grader to have them. I'm gonna get that on you, type of thing, and just all those type of things. I mean, it's and it's just being patient and not getting on kids if they're getting too close to each other. It's just all those things we're gonna have to work. We're gonna have to do so much front end loading with parents, not only on Schoology, but also on talking to their kids about washing their hands and social distancing, tearing down that attendance barrier. That, hey, if your kid's sick, it's okay. We're not gonna come after you for attendance. Keep your child at home. And I'll think all those things. We talked about it because obviously COVID had that one 5th grade class at Red Granite.
Yeah.
So if let's say we're able to get, so the way we're thinking about Red Granite right now is any Red Granite student who had an older sibling that was going to Parkside or the high school, those kids would all come to Red Granite on that day. Any kid at Red Granite who doesn't have an older sibling would come on the opposite day. So then that would. So depending on how that class looks by doing that, we may be mixing groups together. Yeah. So yes. Yeah. And that could happen in other classes too, kindergarten.
Right,
Yeah,
right.
so-
Low class sizes.
I agree with Barry though, Jeanette. I think it's short-sighted if a family said, well, I'm just keeping my kids home altogether. If they're not equipped to do that, their kids are gonna be set back even further.
Yeah.
At least if they were able to come 2 or 3 days a week here, they're getting something to take with them back home, some guidance, some direct instruction to work.
For me, many of us have kids in the district, some don't, but, it becomes a little bit personal too, because you see, I have 2 kids that will be in the district next year, one in the high school, one at Parkside. And, this has been tough, right? And we've all experienced it in different ways, and everybody has a different situation at home, but it's not good, right? Both from an educational standpoint and from a social standpoint, and I know, unfortunately, you have to come up with every single scenario, right? I think it's good to have that goal. I mean, do any of you guys feel like really concerned, given the current situation with the health statistics?
Not at all.
Trends of COVID, so not
Bring
at
them
all?
back.
No.
Bring them all back.
Bring them all back?
That's where I'm
I'm
at.
involved with the public every day.
Yeah.
And I have been. I've been open for 3+ weeks
You
now.
feel the same way?
I think they gotta come back.
If antique liquor, if Scott hasn't gotten sick serving liquor for 12 weeks, we're good to go.
I think we're very blessed to be in
I do
this
too.
area. We're in a very, instead of being in the bigger areas, I think we're very.
You have a lot
blessed.
of, you have a lot of your own restrictions as far as travel because
Yeah.
being local and there's, yeah, that's the benefit of being out here. And there's no doubt about it.
Brian, any concerns that,
No, I don't have any concerns either, man. To the point where it's time to come back.
for the kids, right?
Yeah.
And for the parents, but.
I don't wanna live in the what if. I'd rather have them come back and then we deal if something happens. I don't wanna live into, let's wait. Well, what if the wait never happens? We've been living like this for
You
3
know,
months.
So it sounds like we have the same goal, and
Yeah.
it aligns with what Tom
Bring them back
wants to
every
do
day.
also. We may not be able to, but that, I think it's important to have that goal.
And remember, we've been dealing with this now for almost 3 months. I mean, we know what the parameters are. We know what to watch for. The medical is all in place.
Mhm.
It isn't like you're gonna have to scramble if somebody shows any kind of symptoms. I mean, you'll be able to deal with it directly and efficiently and certainly take care of that individual. So I have absolutely no concerns.
I mean, I feel like, given the circumstances we had, we did probably as well as we could have done, right? We had the goal of not stressing these kids out, right? We knew that from an educational standpoint, it was going to be a fraction of the instruction. But, to sit here and look at where we're going now, I mean, we have to take the Schoology, we have to have the entire staff ready to go, because you could be here on a Thursday afternoon, 15 cases show up, Friday morning, there's nobody in the building.
Yeah.
Right, I mean, that's a scenario, and it can't be what we did this past spring, because it wasn't, educationally, I don't feel it was very valuable. And that's not being critical of administration or the teachers or anybody, it's just, the kids are at a huge disadvantage if we're not totally prepared, and that's why it's a lot of work for you guys, Tom, but we just have to be ready for it, because we could come back and everybody's going, and then it hits again.
Yeah. It's a flu, like the other flus, they're seasonal, so don't be surprised until there's a vaccine, obviously that would take care of the issue to a point, but if it's a flu, you're gonna be looking this late fall again, it's gonna have its own cycle again, so. It's like the normal flu.
But it sounds like we're all really basically on the same page, and all we know, when Tom and I talked about this, whatever set of circumstances and facts we're dealing with today, they're gonna be different tomorrow, they're gonna be different in 2 weeks. Hopefully, these trends that we're seeing continue, and we can get back to business as usual.
Yes, I agree.
So, and sort of go along with that, so Andrea Pong, who's the, in charge of the Department of Health Services in the state of Wisconsin, put the order through June 30th, so that she can dictate what happens to schools. After June 30th, again, no one has said anything, but the feeling is that it's gonna get lifted and it's gonna go more local control. She could come out and say, shutting schools down first semester, and it's shut down through first semester. I, again, don't foresee that happening. We have not gotten any vibe of that, but she does have that power to do that. So if it goes local control, then as you know, and that's why we're meeting on June 15th, it goes local health department, then it goes liability insurance, and then it goes legal counsel. That's the order you have to go in to make decisions from that point forward. And we'll talk a little bit more about that as we get into some other things. So we're meeting with the local health department on the 15th. We've been in contact with their liability insurance company about a variety of things recently. They also have a lawyer that works for them. So oftentimes, if their lawyer will give us answers, we don't even contact the lawyer to save us money to not do that. And so that's the route we've been going. And I'll dig into that a little bit more as I come up with some other items. So just have that mindset that by rule, what we're told to do now, school districts, if this order lifts, is go to the county, go to liability, and if we're not getting insurance, if we're not getting legal counsel from liability, we go to our own lawyer. Then that's the trifecta to get approval to do things so that we're covered as a school district. Yeah, you were saying.
Are there options to shop the risk appetite for the liability if you're not getting the answers that you like and other districts are? I mean, what's the pool of school liability insurers look like? Or are they all gonna be all pretty much the same?
Yeah.
If your insurance not giving you the risk answers that you want,
Yeah.
is there another one to shop that too?
We probably could. The insurance company we go through is McClone. and they're obviously, it's for everything that we do as a district. And then they put it out to Hanover and Acuity, are the companies that we work with for our liability.
Okay.
Yeah, so, but I mean, we could shop around for more risk. I do, and I'll get to it in a second here. I did reach out to them about bringing kids back to school and see if anybody else has asked about that yet. They said, not yet, but we're waiting to hear, so. Strong potential that we'll have a board meeting on July 27th. That's the last one on Monday. Again, I think, we have one in early July. Then we're gonna have to come to you with, we're gonna have to make a decision about reopening. We can't wait till the middle of August and make a decision. So if you feel at that meeting, we could present something, we can talk it through, make a decision, and that way we can communicate with parents as soon as possible. I think we're gonna offer some type of virtual summer school. We're not gonna be ready to do physical summer school yet. And I think that we were looking at maybe doing that in August at Parkside. But I think just getting the buildings prepared and getting everything around, I'm just not feeling comfortable, and transportation yet. I would rather put my stock into getting ready for the school year, so we have that in place without putting something in jeopardy. We can offer virtual summer school for parents who want to take it, and we can't count those minutes towards our membership.
Any grade or just 6-12?
They waived it
They waived it?
K-12, so we can do updates. It depends probably how many staff we can get,
Sure.
when they're comfortable. It would be more remediation and maybe some revision.
Is that then the trial run of Schoology then during that?
Yeah, so be using Schoology to get the information out to the kids, get them used to working with it. Yeah. Talking with Tammy Stansberry and Cindy today, I think we're going to end food distribution on June 26th. That's when we would have normally ended for summer school. Numbers are starting to go down. We've cut our food staff in half, and numbers are going down, and there's a little bit of burnout occurring with drivers and the food staff. So we feel June 26th was when summer school would have been over anyways. We're just going to stop at that point. So there are other opportunities for families that have free reduced lunch. They can take those EBT cards in. There are funds available for them to go to the grocery store and get food if they qualify for free reduced lunch. And we have put that information out there. You guys had asked about the essential worker budget. And this was, again, those individuals who were paid extra to come in and work during March through May. So again, we're looking at food service workers, bus drivers, some secretaries, some custodians in the building. I can sort of talk you through it real quick. And so the amount spent on salary and benefits for essential workers was $124,365.60. The amount of this covered by food service fund balance for food service workers and bus drivers was $80,000. So 80 of the 124,000 went to food service workers and bus drivers, came out of the fund balance for food service. So again, that leaves $44,000, a little over $44,000 that went towards custodian and secretarial for those 2.5 months. Revenue to date from the food service program, so running the distribution, has been $100,432. So if you subtract 80,000 from that 100,000, we still made $20,000 on top of the food service piece. If you look at the cost of just the secretary custodial piece, that 44,000 on the third box down, some other areas that you could compare that to, compared to spring costs, we saved $47,000 in non-personnel spring sports costs. That would be officials and workers. We saved $67,943 in spring sports trips and other field trips during that time. So our savings in those two areas was $115,542. Again, we paid $44,000. So again, if you're looking at something to cost that $44,000 against, you could put it up against those two things. We still came out at $71,000 in the positive. And that's sort of what we had talked about in here that night. For the thing. So that makes sense.
Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome. Thanks for asking. And that's my report so far.
Any board members have anything? Nothing? Okay, moving along, item G, the consent agenda. We have the minutes of the May 11th, 2020 monthly meeting.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 11th, 2020.
I'll second it.
Motion by Nicole and second by Karen. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 2, staffing. We have 2A, 1 and 2, and 2B, 1 through 4. Unless somebody would like to pull one or more of these out individually, I would entertain a motion to take all of them together.
So moved.
I just have one quick question. I'm not making it. With the girls' basketball stuff,
Yep.
is there any other
Sure.
interest in that besides Craig or?
Yeah, we have one other candidate, Tyler Geisart, who interviewed, that was part of the interview committee. Yeah, so it was, they're the only two, internally or externally, who were interested.
Okay, I have a motion.
I'll second.
Okay, motion by Adam and second by Barry. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item H, action items. Business and Finance, approve the May 2020 Treasurer's Report.
I'll make a motion to approve the treasurer's report as printed.
Second.
Motion by Karen, second by Brian. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 1B, approve the vouchers and payroll.
Make a motion to approve the vouchers and the payroll as printed.
Second.
Motion by Karen, second by Adam. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 1C, approve the school year 2020-21 school police liaison contract addendum.
Again, that time of year to approve Lake's contract for our services that he provides. I'm sorry, it's for next year, it's not this year. So it's for next school year.
Is there, I didn't look at the details.
Any
Cost of
changes?
living?
Not a nominal price increase, that
Cost
is
of living.
Cost of living.
less than cost of living,
Okay.
well under
80%.
80%.
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second it.
Motion by Brian, second by Jeanette. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 2, policy 2A1, Wacoma High School handbook.
So the handbooks, it's the time of year when we hemmed and hawed about whether we wanted to do handbooks for the students down the way what happened next year. And I just said, two things. One is they budgeted for it. Second of all, I felt like we were giving up if we didn't have handbooks. So I was like, I felt like that put a negative thought process in my mind. And also people, those businesses are also trying to make money. And then we've been very loyal to our company out of Michigan. And they've been loyal to us too. And so we went ahead with the handbooks. We have obviously always have that insert at the beginning of the handbooks with a lot of policy notices, information, the parent information that goes to the parent, information that goes to the student that keeps us in compliance with annual notices. So the handbooks are in line, and I would recommend that you approve.
Was there any material change to them over previous years, or?
I think I had them put in. Oh, go ahead, Katie.
Riverview had a lot of, she changed hers because
Okay.
she's new and she had a lot of changes.
We also put our compliance officers in, their names. They're in policy, but the new rule was that there's this really cumbersome, I should say, very daunting Title IX legislation coming out, and you have to put your compliance officers in your student handbook. So that's Deb Primo and Jen Johnson.
Sure.
So we had both their contact info, all the way from Granite Riverview to Parkside High School. So
So if somebody's so inclined, we could take a motion for all 4 of them together.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Adam and second by Barry. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 2B, approve policy 3216. We'll take the next 2 together. DNC, policy 3216 and 4216, professional and support staff dress and grooming provision, second consideration.
So this is just the finalization of second consideration of having jeans be allowed to be worn and included in the policy.
I'll make a motion to approve item 2B and C.
Motion by Nicole, second by Brian. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 2D, approve policy 6116, time and effort reporting revision, second consideration.
Again, second consideration of being able to continue to pay, and this was really a reflection on the end of last year. People receive federal funds towards their salary. The way the federal law is written is that you can not pay people federal funds if they're not working. However, during this time of the pandemic, they made a caveat that if other funding source people are being paid, people who get federal funding can also be paid. we made the adaptation to our policy, so we're covered in the future. So really, this is,
compliance piece.
it's really retro.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, so moved, so moved.
Second.
Motion by Barry and a second by Adam. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item 3, negotiations personnel. 3A, approve the creation of the high school link crew advisor positions.
So Link Crew has been around for a long time, and it's the transitionary piece between 8th grade and 9th grade at the high school. And there's always been adults who've been involved in it. And then there's a Link Crew group of kids, usually juniors and seniors, who sort of acclimate the freshmen and then sort of stick with them. I would say over my time here, it got considerably better each year and more involved as it went along. I think it was really strong for a while, hit a little bit of a lull, and then started making a move back up. And those individuals have never been paid, and they really work with those kids all year long. There's Link Crew activities. So Jenna came to me and asked about, right now, Kyle Thompson and April Stiles are Link Crew advisors, and just about them having a paid extracurricular. And I said, well, really not the time to start adding extracurricular positions. She said that within her building budget that she could find $1,000 a piece, one for each person, if we could approve the positions, and then they could apply for the positions if they still wanted to have them. And then she would use funds from her building budget, reduce that amount, put it into extracurricular, so that we're not coming up with more money, the need for more revenue to fund those positions. And I said I would be okay with that if she was willing to reduce her building budget by $2,000. So that's my
Do
recommendation.
you feel that that gets competitive then? There'll be maybe some more people who are interested in doing it that weren't interested for.
I don't think so. It's a lot of time.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot of time and effort. It's before school starts and then throughout the school year with a lot of preparation. There might be, but I mean, I don't think, Kyle's been doing it for quite a while. And yeah, I don't think it's that lucrative and illustrious.
Once we start paying, Tom, would we see an issue where another school district has a similar item like this, and they compare payrolls and say they're out of line, all of a sudden try to negotiate for more?
So what we did is we compared it to other positions that are similar in our extracurricular schedule. So I'm very comfortable with $1,000.
I was just saying, from another district had another link crew or something of the same nature, and we felt that, or they looked into it, that we're not in line with what they're paying, and came back to us to try to force our hand in increasing this amount.
Yeah, I think we would do that because there are other districts that have different extracurricular schedules, like their varsity football coaches make $10,000 a year, and obviously ours don't. And so this fits right in with our schedule.
Okay.
So if they said that, I would say, you know what, we provide this opportunity. If it's not enough for you, then we'll find somebody else to do it.
The internal piece, are there other positions that are volunteer-ish, like you seem to have been in the district right now, where we're going to create some bad blood by giving these guys $1,000?
Not to this extent of labor. Yeah, there are some like
Perception?
smaller- What's that?
I mean, everybody has a different perception on what that extent of labor is.
Sure, this is a year-round position.
Okay.
There are some volunteer positions that, where, I'll put it to you this way, sometimes people have come to us and said, I want to start this, and I would say, that's fine, but it's not a paid position.
Sure.
This was not started by them, this was started by the school district.
Sure.
So that's usually my argument back, not argument, but comeback. And then we always look at like time spent.
Well, I think that's a great threshold.
Yeah.
But it's a good question too, because it needs to be a dependable position. If in the fall, I said, well, now that we paid the link, we're paying 6 more
Yep.
extracurriculars, that's something, you're saying we don't have that situation.
And if we do want to deal with it.
You'll defend it.
Yep. And if they have a good argument, we'll look at the argument. They're the ones that came forward. And just sort of said, hey, listen, what's the chances? They weren't crappy about it. They just said, we pretty much do this all year long. We're planning, preparing. So Jen wanted to look at it. So.
And it's a budget neutral item too, with the way that Jen's handled it, which is, another piece. So.
Yeah, and if somebody else came to a building administrator and they wanted to do a budget neutral item, then yeah, we would be willing to look at that.
First thing that's gonna get cut with are the name placards for
I
next
don't
year.
know. We can handle this at work, I think.
So we'll probably come back, obviously next we'll come back with people who are interested. Katie will post it, the positions. Even though the people who are doing it, it'll still get posted because it's not an official position.
Need a motion?
Good questions.
So move.
Second.
Motion by Barry and a second by Jeanette to approve the creation of high school link crew advisor positions. Any further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item I, board governance information only policy 8405, environmental health and safety program. A, the guidance on class of 2020 commencement ceremony.
So, I referenced policy 8405 because as a school board and as an administrative team, we're held accountable to the environmental health of our students. And so obviously with the pandemic going on, there's some things coming up that I really ultimately are my decisions based on policy. But I think it's good to get your feedback, get your guidance, let you know where I stand. You can give me some input. So I thought I'd bring them now. I don't like to wait till the last second on things. So first one's graduation. Ross, you can hand one of each, please. Take one. I'm going to give you a map. There's a new map. It's much better than this one, but I didn't have time to print it off. And then there's just a checklist so you can see the work that Jennifer's doing on the commencement ceremony. Again, right now the commencement ceremony is planned for August 8th outside on the football field at 10:30 a.m. We met with health department along with law enforcement, and we're moving forward with it. We also checked in with our insurance company, and I think I forwarded that to you. So there's two things about a commencement ceremony, which is very intriguing. One, a commencement ceremony is not educational, not instructional, I should say, and it's not extracurricular. So it really is different than the two things in the current order by Andrea Palm. Andrea Palm shut down the school as instructional and extracurricular. So really, optically it doesn't look good, but really between now and June 30th, you could probably hold a commencement ceremony on your school grounds.
Sure.
All right. Indoors probably would not be smart because you're in a closed-in area. But I think us pushing off to August 8th, I think was still a good move. So our discussion right now is 10 tickets per family. So that could, potentially be, there's about 84 students that are going to walk. So it could potentially be 840 people on the football field. So the planning is obviously immense with, and I don't want to get too deep into it, but parking for certain people, parents over here, students and staff over there, handicap over by the bus garage, having a very nice path to get there with people working the path, having a great deal of law enforcement there. Really communicating well to the families about what's expected when you get here. We'll go through our whole mitigation piece of if you're ill, you better not come. If you've been by with COVID-19, you should not be here. Just going through those liability pieces. If you cough into your sleeve. If you have these symptoms, do not come. If you have someone in your family who has a compromised immune system, they probably shouldn't be here. Just going through all those pieces along the way. Having spaces for the groups to be like, you can't come in until your whole group is here. All right, once your whole group is here, you can come in. Broadening the time of when people can start coming in. So we may open it up at 8:30 a.m. so we don't have everybody backed up, from 8:30. Having seating in the bleachers, having seating on the football field, maybe some seating on the track potentially. We already got the students set up where we want them. How they're going to walk in. We're going to have a tent for them a little bit off to the west of the football field. So they're away from everybody else. So we don't have mingling going on. So people, questions that come up and it's the things that you'll hear. Well, what if all of a sudden one group of 10 starts hugging another group of 10 and they haven't seen each other in years? Yeah. Okay. We told them not to. That's really where our liability stands. We encourage social distancing. If they decide to get in each other's faces and talk, again, according to the insurance company, we're not liable for that. We told them what the rules were. We're not held liable to a situation of that situation. We would have to prove gross negligence to be liable for any situation. So our planning is very careful. Our communication will be very thorough. And we plan on moving forward with commencement on August 8th.
Do we bring our own chairs? Can you bring your own chairs?
Yeah, so we're going to encourage chairs, no umbrellas, so that we're not blocking the view. And we're not going to have any chairs for families out there. Or if you want to have a blanket and sit on the blanket, you can do that too. We'll section off, cordon off parts of the bleachers so that they're distanced apart. If people want to sit up in the bleachers again, because we do have handicap accessible seating up there.
But you're gonna tell people to bring chairs.
Yeah, that'll be in the communication.
Okay.
Yep.
good.
Yep.
I think that's a good idea.
Did they ever think about an evening versus a morning? Granted, it's gonna get kind of hot, and like Berlin just had theirs in the evening. Did that idea ever come up now with it being summer, it's gonna be harder than Dickens at 10:30.
Yeah, we didn't, we just decided to stick to the same time that we were gonna have the original one, and just move forward. I mean, August could be, it could be 60 degrees on
Yeah.
August 8th, or you're right, it could be 110.
Yep.
I guess we felt like that time of year, not quite as bad as July, they were hoping 10:30, we're gonna be in and out. We don't plan on, we're not giving the extensive speeches in our goal. The good chance band and choir are not gonna be there. It'll be virtual, like played in advance. And so we're probably looking at a 40 to 45 minute. So we're hoping to be done before 11:30.
Because Barry, when you and John graduated, you had it all in the football field. And that was on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah. It was warm.
It was warm, very
That's what
warm.
I'm saying.
Look at the draw, though, it's 90 degrees right now. It's
But wait,
7 o'clock.
it didn't bother us. It didn't bother
No,
us.
it didn't.
If it's 90, chances storms are probably more.
Yeah, that's true.
Afternoon and evening too.
I'll have to crash.
Do we have backup rains that day?
Yeah, so I think we're gonna look at 1 o'clock.
Oh.
Yeah, so I know, she had talked about graduation parties being at 2, but just, letting people know. I mean, it'll just get back up
My
to 2.
party's at 4, so
Oh, God.
that better be done by 4.
Yeah.
The pig is on the thing at 4, so.
So if it gets moved to 1, your party's starting immediately.
Everyone's just going to your house.
All right, let's take, no.
I think part of it too is just even looking at the amount of workers.
Yeah.
And just saying, 10:30 is nice because you get them in, you get them out.
Yeah.
And then they're not there, have to take up their night. So we're gonna have a lot of law enforcement. We're gonna try to get as many staff as possible to work areas.
The kids will be spread apart on the field too. The kids are gonna be like.
Yes, they're
little
gonna
kids.
be physically distanced in 7 rows of 6, I believe, or 6 rows of 7.
We're not gonna make them wear masks, are we? Are we?
No, we're not making anyone wear masks. We'll say, we recommend facial coverings based on the CDC thing, but that's completely up to them. So the way the stage will look, and you don't have that one, is, they'll come on, we're all gonna be spaced. We're planning everybody being there. If you can't be there, let us know. But we'll all be spaced. We're gonna have you and Jeanette sort of on both sides of the diploma, so you're quicker for you to get there. And then once they get their diploma, we're gonna try to get you cloth gloves, and then you can hand the diploma, so it'll look nice. They're gonna keep walking down. We're gonna have the Hornet backdrop down at the far part of the stage where no one is seated. Gary LeBeau will be right in front of that. They'll have their diploma and get their photo taken. No one will be with them for that.
So they're allowed
So
to shake them for him?
no, we're handing them the diploma, and we're actually gonna try to keep as much distance. Obviously, if somebody lives in your house, you might be able to get a little closer to
Even with
them.
your daughter.
What happens if other ones want to just hug you? It's
Yep.
up to
That's
me
their
then,
third
to
choice.
take it back?
Say again.
Like when someone wants to hug you, they,
Well, we're gonna tell them that in advance, that we're handing and going. So,
cause like I work at a nursing home, as long as we do our our sand, and I'm closer than just
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
But it all depends on what the rules are gonna be taken up.
I think if
On
we are,
August
if
8th.
we're showing that we're trying to keep a good distance as we hand them their diploma, because that's been, if you've been watching any of the virtual ones, it's always, a lot of times we're not even giving it to them. They're
They're putting
picking
it
it
on
up
the
off, picking off a table, puts on a table, pick it up off the table. So we're gonna go here, we're gonna coach them to go here, and then they're gonna just keep right on walking and get their photo
In
taken.
this capacity, if we're making a statement as a district, what we should be doing, then we should be advising.
Yeah, correct, yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, so we'll be seated apart, they'll be seated apart, and we'll hand it apart. Again, if Mackenzie wants to give you a hug, obviously she lives in your house, and so you're okay.
I don't think.
And I know Garrett's gonna be all over that.
He is gonna be all
Oh,
over.
yeah.
I know.
Just all tears there.
Oh,
His mother, are they going?
That sounds good. I think
We're prepared.
awesome to be talking about it, right? It's a
I agree.
reality now.
And communication will not come out to parents until right after 4th of July. I want that order lifted on July 1, just because that still makes me nervous. And I want that lifted, and then we move, and then we get the 4th of July weekend out of the way. The next week we have, Jen's working on it. It'll be a letter categorized, parking, tickets, distancing, all these things, seating, we'll have it all compartmentalized for everybody with all the little bullet points on what they need to do. And after that, we're not gonna babysit them.
I think, well, to what degree, we're gonna certainly, as board members, be asked questions about this now that we brought it up in open session.
Sure.
In the Argus prior to July 1st, I would anticipate.
Yeah.
What do you want us to communicate to them?
Let's just say that right now the plan is August 8th.
Details to
Yeah,
follow, right?
yeah. August 8th is, we're planning on graduation. We have all the parties, working on it. And once the order is officially lifted on June 30th, I'm of the understanding that it could even be had now,
Sure.
but it feels a lot better when the order's listed. Yeah, then you don't feel like you're thumbing your nose, type thing, so.
Good. Any other
Is that
comments?
okay?
Questions on graduation? Okay, item B, extracurricular activity after July 1, 2020.
So the next question that is gonna come up immediately because of the WIA, a month or so ago, it stated that, if the order is lifted on July 1, that the senior athletes from the spring could play their fall sports, in July, they would get 30 days, whether that's practice or events.
Or spring sports.
I'm sorry, yes, the spring sports that they missed. So doing some digging and, this one is a tougher one. I'm going to give you this, I apologize. I'm ahead of myself. So I'm going to give you one document that is a response from our liability insurance company. I'm going to give you another document from the National Federation of High Schools. I believe that's.
The WIA has no guidance on this right now?
No.
That's it?
And that's sort of the way it's been.
I saw Wayne Lebecky came up and said something kind of off the cuff about fall sports. It looked
Well,
like.
they took it out of context and then
Okay.
drilled them, and the next day the WIA had a 4-paragraph thing. I was saying, no. So so I preparing for this because everybody's preparing for this. Some conferences have just said we're shutting it down. I don't think even if we as a school district said we're doing extracurricular, no one's going to come here and play us because no one's going to take up liability. Here's why. So the first question I ask, and you can see, and I bracketed it because I'm sorry I didn't print out color. I didn't want to waste more paper. As you can see from the insurance company, I asked, how do you feel about once a 30-day extension potentially could be given after July 1. Again, in talking with Hanover and Curie, they don't want to give specific guidelines since there are so many variables for all their insureds. However, they do want you to follow any attorney's advice, governmental body's advice, and CDC guidelines as best you can. It's also important to document your plan so you can prove that you did what any prudent school district would do to prevent injuries and sickness. By doing this, you reduce your potential negligence in the eyes of the court. Prudent, key word there. Next page. It's from Patty Wolfile. And we had a youth sports person reach out to Patty, and that person shared this with me. So again, and I just want you to read between the lines. First paragraph, still a lot unknown about COVID-19. I'll read in a little bit here. Some talk about staying surface for a long time, 24 hours. How do you continually throw a ball around and not have multiple people touch it? Then there's spacing and masking. Does not seem conducive to playing football, probably, or any other sport. Then not having gatherings of over 50 people in a congregated area. Then she talks about, sort of where we're at as far as Washera County. But again, it goes back to social distancing and masks. No way she knows that that'll be better in August. More activities involving large groups that cannot follow public health principles of hand washing, sanitizing, social distancing, and masking are being discontinued or postponed even more. Okay, so again, we talk about all the festivals, all the things, all the parades, they're all being discontinued. So I'm reading between the lines here, and she's saying, I'm not for a bunch of kids getting together in a tight space, facing each other and approving that. Okay, so I got insurance company, I got her. Okay, now you go to the next one, it's the CDC guidelines. So middle piece there for the CDC. Lowest risk for the CDC. Performing skill building drills or conditioning at home, alone, or with family members. That's lowest risk. Increased risk. You bring people into the gym, you give them their own ball, but you keep them away from each other. Okay, that's a little bit more because you're bringing people together, but still potentially could be to me, that for us maybe would be the next step. More risk within the team competition. Now you got a group of kids who all live in the same town, but you got them playing basketball together or playing softball together. A little more increased because you don't know where those families have been. A little more risk, even more risk. Now it's us versus Wild Rose. Similar geographic area, but again, we don't know where those people. They don't know where we've been. We don't know where they've been. we're spitting, we're, touching the same thing, we don't know what's going on. Highest risk. Now we're going outside our geographical area. Okay, that's high risk. So that's the CDC guidelines. That's what our insurance company just referred to. That's what our Department of Health Services. Now you got the National Federation of High Schools. If you go back to page 4, phase 1. They tell you how you're going to have to screen before you can even see the kids. What the limitation on the gatherings are. No gatherings of 10 more people at a time, inside or outside. Locker rooms cannot be utilized. 6 feet apart. It goes, facility cleaning, all the cleaning that's going to have to take place. What's going to have to do with the physical activity and athletic equipment. So they gave examples. A basketball player can shoot a ball, but a team should not practice or pass a ball among the team where multiple players are touching the same ball. Football players should not participate in team drills with a single ball that can be handed off. Volleyball players should not use a single ball that another touches or hits in any manner, so forth and so on. All right. They say we're in phase 1. Okay. So here's the moral of the story. There are no athletics after July 1. I got nothing. I can't defend it. I can't say, hey, we're in phase 2, because no one else will say we're in phase 2. So we get a group of kids together and we say we're going to go play Wild Rose of baseball, and somebody gets sick. We are not acting in a prudent manner, and we are now negligent for what occurred to that person. Simple as that.
I mean, you can see clearly by these parameters, they do not want you to compete.
Correct.
There's nothing here that would allow you to do so.
So what I foresee happening on July 1, is I wouldn't doubt that Andrew Fong comes out and says, listen, it's local control with how school looks, but extracurriculars are done. We're not going to allow extracurriculars indefinitely until this or this occurs. We are not okay. And I want to reflect on this. Is there Major League Baseball right now? No. Is there is NBA playing right now? No.
End of July.
Yep. End of July. Maybe. And
Major League Baseball and NHL and
none of that.
they're gonna be back in the end of July.
They are, and they will house all the families together, and they will do temperature checks and do the 15-minute added test to know whether somebody has it. Colleges, I'm still not buying there's gonna be any college sports in the fall next year. I mean, again, unless they can do testing on site at the time before the event, I just don't know how they're gonna do it. So now we're in a high school, okay? High school, middle school youth sports. I know people are playing baseball. I know they are. I know they're playing softball. If those
AAU is back.
Yeah, if those people can do that and they get their liability insurance to cover it, more power to them. Right now, I'm telling you that we have not been given the green light by anybody to do that.
I think I don't mind being early on this stuff. I don't want to be first.
Yeah.
As a school district.
Yeah.
I agree with you, John.
I think when July 1 comes, I would completely fine if coach just said, here's my practice plan. And we would do the mitigation things with the players. Here's your checklist before you come in. Check your temperature, go right down the line. Okay, basketball players, you can come in and you can each have your own basket of basketball. Football players, we can have you going through drills on your own. It could even be in the fitness center, different equipment spaced out. That I think those things can occur. I'm not against those things. To me, we can do phase 1 and be comfortable. I'm not saying shut it down and not have kids come back in and start doing some things, but it's not going to be competitive and it's not going to be where people are going to be touching the same things. And right now, is my opinion.
Are we gonna go season by season, or are we staying for the whole year when it does happen? Are we gonna take it season by season and fall sport?
I think that will be dictated for us. Because here's what I believe, and I'm not blaming anybody. I don't think the WIA is going to come out and say anything until someone above them tells them it's off.
I think you're right.
And I think the pressure is going to be put on the state level to say, because we all know that you could say, we're going to come back halftime for education, but we're not canceling football. I guarantee that will occur in some communities. Someone is going to have to come out and say that. And they know level heads will probably come out for education piece. Level heads may not come to fruition for sports. So someone's going to have to say, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Or the National Federation tells the WIA, shut it down. So So I just want to let you know where I stand. I've sort of been leaking that out, because I feel like I need to, and I'm not doing it to be mean or, you know, a wet blanket. It's protecting the school district. I mean, it's ultimately protecting our kids, but and also it's protecting our school district from liability. Again, and I want you to reflect on this, 2 different messages. Graduation ceremony, go for it. Go for it, because you can say all these things. Sports is not naturally physically distancing. It just isn't, not even cross country. I mean, you think about it, you're breathing hard, someone's right next to you. I mean, you can't physically distance in cross country, you can't physically distance in track. You can't. So,
Most of this information, Tom, when I read it, we're talking about fall, right?
yeah,
Golf.
golf might be the, you know, potentially,
Everybody's going up for
in the
golf,
spring.
right? More
Go
coaches.
ahead.
We're talking about fall, right? I mean.
We're talking about spring sports in July.
Right, but I can't, because I did see some correspondence on that. I mean, we're talking, to me, I mean, if football is going to happen, there's going to be a training camp in the 2nd, 3rd week of July. Volleyball is going to start up, they're gonna have their things. I mean, are we still really talking about having a spring baseball 3-week season, or go to track meets as a school?
So, well, there's gonna be no track meets. No one's gonna.
I know.
Yeah.
But
So-
that correspondence that we had, can we put that to rest?
So here's what we, in my intent is, once we know July 1, what's going to occur, and if she comes out on July 1 and says extracurriculars are shut down, well, that takes care of all of it. So I don't want to jump the gun too much there. But it's going to be, every coach is going to have a plan on how they're going to implement phase 1. And they're going to have to give that plan to Adam Vaughn. And without a plan, no one can meet. And if that means track wants to get together and they want to have the kids run on the straightaways 6 feet apart because that's what they want to do, then whatever. That's fine. They're going to have a plan in place. But football's going to, you know, potentially going to have a plan. Volleyball's going to have a plan.
But that was, I guess, my point and my question to you. Isn't track season and baseball season and softball season and golf season over?
According to WIA, no, it is still not over.
Mean from
Right,
last
they're
season?
pulling-
Yeah,
right,
that's what
they're pulling out.
Oh, we have to put that to bed.
Yeah.
You gotta take a
No
fight
one
on
wants to
that.
yet.
Garrett wanna come run hurdles?
He's over it. I mean, he took state. I said he took state this
Yeah.
year.
Get him a medal.
You don't know.
But I mean, I just saw, and was everybody copied on that correspondence?
Yeah.
I know there's talk about.
Yeah.
There is.
How, when the kids are gonna, might go off to school?
No, they're gonna try to do it in July. have
From
a
what
couple
they're
in.
saying right there, there is a snowball
It's not
chance
gonna
that they're
happen.
gonna move and
Which
get
is
that.
why I
in
think
place.
a statement's gonna be made before July 1 even hits, shutting down.
So when you were saying the coaches would have to submit to you what they're gonna do for phase 1, that's also then, saying that that's how they're gonna get, you know, justification why they're gonna get paid for their being a coach. I mean,
Well, again, but we're only talking one time period.
right,
So if we're looking at, well, okay, spring coach already paid.
right.
Yeah.
But now to be a fall coach and.
Fall coach, we would then start to look at season.
Right.
Yeah, but again, so like, let's say they worked 1 month. We will look at what's the typical season, that's how much they would receive.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm, you know, I know I went through all this with you. I'm a strong believer, it's never gonna get to this. It's just my opinion. But if it does get to this, then again, then we're gonna have to they're gonna have to be individual team plans in place for that to happen. Because basketball will be another one.
But
Because they have
phase 1
summer
is-
basketball.
Phase 1 is just practicing, basically.
What's
And
that?
Phase 1 is just conditioning, right? Phase 1.
Conditioning, or it could be skill development, but
Right.
but by yourself at a basket. Could be in our gym.
But there could be 10 people there.
Yep,
Separate all
yep.
up.
The one thing that stands out, and knowing our political structure within our state, how they follow and who they follow. If they follow what they have been from the day when this thing started, you can pretty much, as far as I'm concerned, fall sports may be jeopardized right now in every level. I just don't see it.
Well, I guess what I'm hearing here, as it relates to spring sports, there's not a lot of support for
Well-
trying to get.
Spring sports are over as far as I'm concerned.
And I really don't have any students that come back out. I mean, I don't know. To just practice.
Well, no, without a promise of a contest. You're a graduated senior,
Oh,
you're
there's-
gonna run around the track.
Yeah.
Unless somebody comes out and says we can have a contest, there will be no contest.
Yeah.
And that'd be, you know, for like track, that'd be UW lacrosse taking on that liability and having all these kids come to their
Oh,
track
right.
and try to do state. I mean, that's another hope. They're not gonna want that.
And now we go into the CDC guideline.
Right.
Now we got multiple geographical areas meeting in one spot.
Like I said, those parameters are not gonna allow you to do a darn
So,
thing.
so people are asking about spring sports still happening, most likely.
I would say no.
It doesn't
They all
sound like
want-
there's a lot of
they all
board
want-
support.
I said, Gary won the state.
They
That's
all
all
want
one
hers.
word.
Got hurdles.
Give everybody a
Big
head
one.
point.
All right,
Wow.
good there.
And I have, people have approached me and I said, if you can find a club group to run a track meet or to play a baseball game that's not affiliated with Wacom Area School District, that's not my business.
That's right.
That's, that's families saying, I'm okay with this, and I'm signing off on whatever club you're in.
What is that affiliated, like the summer basketball league that plays up in Wapaka?
Yeah, that's not even going.
But
Like,
like,
Badger State games, that, what they
Yeah.
don't have either.
You know,
Yeah.
But if like Jag is opening up in Wisconsin Dells, I heard.
right, they are, yeah.
So,
Yeah, that would be, so that would be AAU, which
Okay.
would not be connected to us at all.
okay.
Yeah.
Or if
So,
some
like-
parent wants to get a group of 7 boys or girls together and take them and play some Jag tournament.
They're not the Watoma
Nope,
Hornets.
not us.
Okay, yeah.
So for us, it would be, the boys varsity coach, the girls varsity coach saying, I'm gonna get together my normal summer league team, and we're gonna say no. Like, we can't approve that.
Sure.
Now, if those kids wanna go find an AAU program to play with, their parents will sign off on it.
So like our kids can't, high school kids, they can get together, but it can't be with their coach, or they can get together off-site, like what the volleyball girls want to get together.
Right,
and go
right
play.
now, our coaches still cannot have contacts with the kids.
When
through-
somebody
through
else has
Zoom
contact
video.
with them. Is that okay?
Not under the guise of our program.
Okay. Like a parent shouldn't take them on right now and go take them somewhere and.
Not under the name of the Watoma Area School
It
District.
has to be something, okay.
Yeah, it has to be a club team.
A club team,
Yeah.
because some of the volleyball kids have already.
And this also goes with youth groups too, like our youth basketball club shouldn't obviously.
Well,
next year.
that would be up to that, or that's not affiliated with the school district.
No, but we'd be using your facility,
Facility.
yeah,
Yeah.
so how's that look?
Right, well,
You
you
have to
could,
find all the
then we'll get to that.
Okay, not that.
Not that far.
Any more comments
Wow.
on extracurricular activity after July
It's
1?
sad, it's just terribly sad.
Yeah, it is.
It's just, I can't imagine that these seniors went through this, now the next year's seniors, I feel terrible for them.
Yeah.
That really sucks.
Yep.
Nobody's fault, but.
Item 1C, moving along, guidance on community use of the facilities.
Here we
go.
There you go.
That was our next question. Wow.
So, there you go, sir. So my recommendation right now, before you even get this, is to do no facility requests for indoor. Nothing indoor.
We do like basketball thing.
Yeah.
Is that just for the sports or is that for the pack?
So right now, the PAC can't even have a show.
Okay,
Yeah, because, and Josiah and I have already talked. You can't, the PAC can't make money off of a 50% show.
no.
And especially when most of your clientele is 65 or older, I would not recommend having a show. So they've already canceled the fall season.
Right,
Yep,
through
yep.
December.
So what I'm saying is if anybody put it right now, for now, and again, these things are all like Ross had said earlier, it's sort of day by day, week by week, but for right now, once July 1 occurs, because right now, no one is June 30th, no facilities, even, so once July 1 hits, my recommendation is I'm going to tell the building administrators not to honor any indoor facility requests. No meetings, no athletics, none of that for now, all right? And really, I think if July 1 comes and if they lift it, we're getting the plexiglass ready like your businesses have to have in front of our secretaries for their protection. We'll make it appointment only for now. That if you want to come in and speak to a principal or you want to come in, we'll start opening our buildings a little bit up that way, but you need to call ahead of time so we know who's in the building. Outside the facility, and again, this was a question that I prompted to the liability insurance company. I just said, about opening up our facilities, and even youth sports wanting to use our facilities, like football. Let's say the youth sports football league said, yeah, well, you guys can go, it's okay. Here's what they wrote back. It's recommended that these outside groups sign an agreement that they will adhere to your guidelines and will hold you harmless. And is that something you can do? So we would have to agree that if we were going to allow youth football to be here, again, which I can't imagine any liability insurance can allow youth football to play, that they would have to hold us harmless. There would have to be some kind of addendum to their liability insurance saying if we allow them to use our football field, We're not helping, they gotta follow all of our rules about social distancing, about the mitigating pieces and all that. Okay, just so you know. There's that. Then there's our outdoor facilities. I believe that when July 1 occurs, our outdoor facilities should be open. And they're okay with that. And we have some signage that we'll put at the facilities. We'll make up some signs that'll go recommended review for playground. The playground equipment will not be disinfected or sanitized. Use at your own risk. Okay. And then we'll also have signs at 3 at the high school, probably 3 at Parkside, 1 at the entrance to the high school, 1 at Red Granite, 1 at Riverview. Just mitigating factors, infection control mitigation factors. People who are sick must stay home. Do not come on school grounds. Contact and follow the advice of your medical provider. Practice 6 feet of social distancing if you're with other people not in your household. Wash your hands with soap or water. Use hand sanitizer. Avoid touching your face. Need precautions with tissue. Strongly considers using the cloth face covering while in public. All right. So that's our caveat to like, hey, we're telling you what will help you if you come on our grounds. So that would include at the high school outdoor track. I put baseball and football fields for WASD student athletes only. Again, if they were going to go out and social distance, or if we had were able to hold individual practices out there, I don't want other people on the football field, regardless. Parkside baseball fields, again, community at their own risk. So if parents got a bunch of kids together and they went out and they wanted to play one family versus another family in baseball on our little baseball fields back in the woods, that's again, we told them the rules. Soccer field, same thing. Playground, same thing. Frisbee disc golf course. Riverview's a playground. Burgram's a playground and walking track. So I would put this on the website. I would put this in the newspaper, but not until July 1 for that. So that's my recommendation for the outdoor facilities. Other districts are doing similar things starting July 1. Some are already doing this for their outdoor facilities. I don't feel comfortable until July 1 because of the order.
I mean, it seems reasonable to me, and if we don't have a liability, why not?
Are the neighboring districts, when you refer to other districts, you're referring to immediately adjacent districts?
Yeah. I would say most districts in the state of Wisconsin are opening up their outdoor facilities. And by outdoor facilities, I mean you get in the playground. We've really never encouraged people to go on the varsity football field. We don't really want them to do that anyway. Or the varsity baseball field. So again, that'd be more for school-related activities. If we're in phase 1 and kids can run 100-yard dashes on the football field like football players or whatever. But if people want to go walk on the track, they can walk on the track. If they want to go play on the playground equipment, we can't sanitize that. It's too much surface area.
I get it.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that we're not on an island where we're the only ones open.
No, I would say the discussion I'm hearing is this is coming from most, again, some districts are already doing it. I talked to the superintendent in Boston. He said they opened up their walking track a while ago. He just couldn't justify closing it. I get where he's coming from. Again, I just feel still, there's a state order out there. I just feel like that's still over the top of us for now and whatever. So that, again, my decision, but I wanted to let you know the research that I went behind to do it, sort of where we're at with it.
So youth football, if they get permission from their insurance and all that stuff, they could use our outdoor facility.
If they would hold, if we could get on their liability insurance would hold us harmless. Have a hold harmless statement to the Watchung School District, and follow our rules for seating in the bleachers. For probably wouldn't have the restrooms open; they'd have to get porta potties.
Concession stand, all that stuff.
Yeah, probably wouldn't be able to serve food.
Yeah.
Things of that sort.
But they'd have to come to us, right? It's not automatic. They're gonna have to.
Yeah, we would have to go through all the rule, and then we'll go through the building administrator for all the rules.
Should be youth football, perfect opportunity to put some tackle the flag. That's a good year.
Just one piece I think to add and something to think about, not need to be discussed in detail now, but if they are able to have football or any other sport and the school district is unable, I think we should take a look at what the field maintenance and line painting and everything looks like too, right? I don't know why the school district should bear much of any of that cost.
Especially because we wouldn't be playing ourselves. Again, I'm really hard pressed to believe that anybody's going to allow them to play. I think they can get away with baseball a little bit if they can show their writing on the baseball, things of that sort of. Like they may come up with some. Same with volleyball. It's not as in your face type sport. When you have a bunch of kids together in a pile breathing and spitting on each other. No different than basketball. I guess a tough one to sell. But I mean, I could be wrong.
Okay, discussion only, legislative update, we're closing in on our closed session here.
As far as legislative update, was in touch with Mr. Tessman's office, this afternoon, and he had really nothing to share with us. He said there's been no, virtual session as well as, live session, obviously, and, they're basically in the same situation where it's wait and see from a higher level. They're not doing anything at this point, so, there's too much up in the air, there's too many gray areas, and they're not making any decisions that will directly filter down to the district. They're not willing to just put their neck out there and do anything at this time. So we're in the same loop as we were last month.
Anybody else, legislation?
I think it goes, and just real quick, I think it goes back to commending the board over time of keeping the fund balance higher. You know, you always sort of use the term rainy day fund. We thought it would be a pandemic fund, but I think it's probably going to end up being that, and a little bit. I don't know if it's never, you know, but I think we should be thankful because not every school district is in the same boat.
Item 3, district administrator report, distribution of the 2018-2020 staff perceptual survey comparison.
You got it. Please review it. We'll bring it back for discussion at the next board meeting.
Item J, board suggested future agenda items for a meeting on July 13th, 6:15, right back here. Anything right now? If not, advise, and we'll get it on there.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate you listening to me, and it's gonna give
Good
you.
stuff. Motion to adjourn.
So,
Okay. So it's 7